you can find and apply for research and internship opportunities in STEM. My name is Katie Owashi. I am the STEM Center Coordinator at Moreno Valley College.
And I'm Patricia Gill. I'm the Norco College's STEM Services Developer. I'm working with our engineering students, but all other STEM students as well. So we welcome you tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, we're going to get started here. We want to talk about a little bit about the differences between internships and research experience. Internships are more hands-on. They often work with a company or a government entity, specifically like NASA or the Department of Defense. You'll be doing some entry-level tasks, oftentimes, especially if they're not requiring, additional experience. And they're there to really assist you with your professional development, to try and get you started. They're your first pathway. And they have professionals that they want you to assist them with their projects or move their project along. Oftentimes they're paid, but oftentimes they're also unpaid. What's most important is that they're going to give you some experiences to add to your resume. And typically these internship opportunities happen during the summer, but some of them happen during the regular semester. They can be virtual or they can be in person. Research experience for undergraduates, also known as REUs, often take place in an educational setting, so a university or some type of institution or lab. You get an opportunity to work with a faculty member or other researchers like postdoc researchers. These are students who are trying to achieve their PhD. And typical duties would be your entry-level research, you're doing some lab work, you're doing some data collection, you might be out in the field, you might be transcribing that data into an Excel spreadsheet or into some kind of data that they would be able to collect and compile and share at a conference or on a paper. Oftentimes, research experience for undergraduates are paid opportunities. They can be unpaid, especially if you don't meet the federal requirements of being like a US citizen or permanent resident. And they're available all across the United States. So be on the lookout for those types of opportunities. They're really fruitful.
Okay, this guy is impossible right now.
Okay, benefits of internships and REUs are a variety. Why should you do either one of them? Well, one of the main reasons is it's going to help you explore STEM topics in industry as well as in an educational setting. It allows you to make an impact, to find that information, to be a part of that whole experience, and gives you valuable experience on your resume. And most importantly, it allows you to be able to network with these individuals on a long-term basis. It isn't just for that short term, that 6-week, 8-week, 10-week opportunity that you have in front of you. This is something that you can be able to take advantage of throughout your educational career and beyond. So it's really up to you. What types of internships are commonly available to community college students? These are a list of some of the things that our students have participated in over the years and has gained them experience to move on to more profitable internships for themselves. One of the baseline opportunities that I really encourage students to participate in is NASA NCAS. NASA NCAS is the National Community College Aerospace Scholars Program. Why? Because it is a virtual internship, happens 6 weeks during the summer. It is a non-paid internship, but there is a great application process that goes into participating in this opportunity. Even though it's unpaid, you learn all things regarding NASA. So it's like your next step. So this is your base step, and it brings you on to other NASA internship or experience and program opportunities, such as L-Space. We are fortunate here in Southern California that we have the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena. And they have a variety of internships available, some paid, some unpaid. One of the unpaid ones, which is only offered to community college students, is the JPL Student Independent Research Internship, also known as SIRI. This is a non-paid internship that happens during fall and spring. You have to apply to it, and it takes a college that is one of their partners. Norco College is one of their partners. Riverside is as well. I believe Moreno Valley is also. So that happens twice a year and you're able to apply. The others are their year-round internship, which is offered to not only community college students, but to four-year university students as well. In addition, there's JPL's Maximizing Student Potential in STEM and their summer internship program. These three internship opportunities attach you to a project. You're not fetching someone's coffee. You're actually doing some project work. A lot of times it can be virtual, as it has in the last 2 years of COVID, but it also can be face-to-face where you'll be on site. The Naval Research Enterprise Internship Program is, the acronym for that is NREAP. Okay, NREAP is a great opportunity offered in August. It opens up August 1st, which is the application date, start date, and the application deadline is November 1st. So this would place you, if you are selected, at a naval base. And fortunately for us in the Inland Empire, we have the Naval Weapons Station here in Corona that is a couple of blocks away from Norco College. So you're close. You can either work on site or remote. During these last 2 years in COVID during the summer, they have been remote opportunities, but they have also invited those interns to come on site for meetings and to meet their the scientist that is their mentor and to work cohesively with some of the projects. Southern California Edison offers year-round internships. So if you're that electrical engineering student or wanting to go into computer science, cybersecurity is huge for SoCal Edison. So there is year-round opportunities there where you can apply. And then specifically only to community college students is the Department of Energy. They have a community college internship program that's application is a certain time during the year. I would highly encourage any STEM student to apply. Energy can be more than just, green energy and electricity. There's a lot more options available for you as STEM students in chemistry, bio, physics, math, etc. So it's a great opportunity for you to apply to. Areas of research. There are common topics that REUs really strive for, and we'll share shortly with you some of the sites where you can do that research and figure out if your major applies. So if you'll look at that list, there's quite a long list of opportunities for different majors. So not just in the STEM and in the sciences, but also in education and human resources. They're looking for all different types of students. So you just see where you fit and where your major fits best. And there's a lot of opportunity there. So make sure that you do your research, do your due diligence, and look and seek for those opportunities and apply. What's most important also I'd like to stress is that find the right opportunity for you. Decide on the location that you want to be in. If you don't want to leave, the Inland Empire, then look for opportunities that are in the surrounding area that you don't have to travel too far to, if that's important to you. Because oftentimes with REUs and also other internship opportunities, they'll offer a travel stipend. So if you're afraid of going, outside of your area because you don't think that you can afford that trip on your own, there are often opportunities that you can take advantage of that will pay a small stipend to get you from point A to point B and back, in addition to lodging and meals. So explore your interests. What topics of research are important to you or that you'd like to learn about? That's another factor in doing this research. Look at the locations, the requirements are super important, and the deadlines, because you don't want to submit something after a deadline. They really adhere strongly to their deadline requirements, as well as the items that they're requiring for you to submit in your application. So they don't want you to send something after that deadline, okay? So prepare your materials, make sure that you have everything that you need, your resume, if they're looking for a personal statement or official or unofficial transcripts, if they're looking for a letter of recommendation, make sure you have everything in order before you submit that application, and submit it on time, even early. Also, we're going to go through a little bit later in the presentation about how you would go about doing that. And make sure you also have someone else put a set of eyes on it. Make sure you've dotted all your I's, crossed your T's. You have everything in order. You don't want to make a grammatical error or forget a vital piece of information, because oftentimes if you don't have everything they're requiring, they're not going to accept your application. And that would be just not a really good situation to be in, especially when you work so hard to be able to get your application submitted. Okay. Where to find these opportunities? Katie and I both work really hard on getting opportunities posted for you to find them. So we're sending emails out to you often. Pay attention to our emails. We're not going to send you something that isn't worth your while to look into. But a couple of the main websites where you can find really great STEM opportunities in research as well as internships are the Pathways to Science website, the NSF website, and the NASA intern site. Each of these sites enable you to drill down and look for not only the region of the internship that you're looking for or the institution, but what you bring to the table, what major it is that you have and what they're looking for, whether they're looking for a first year, a second year, a third year, a fourth year type of student. So you have a lot of ways to be able to dissect that information and see which one is right for you. Now, with the NASA intern website, I strongly encourage each of you to prepare a profile on this website. The nice thing about this website is it actually sends that information to you once you fill out your profile. So you'll get that information in your inbox. Make sure it's an email address that you're going to look at and check often. So keep an eye out for those types of opportunities coming your way and apply accordingly. Sometimes you'll get an opportunity sent out by a faculty member from your institution, from either Moreno Valley or from Norco College or even RCC. Keep an eye on social media if you belong to a STEM club or are a part of an organization on campus that has those types of opportunities that they share. We have several sites that you can look at on our Canvas page as well as our website. That is the best opportunity that you can be able to keep your eyes focused on those opportunities and address them accordingly. And then also create your own. Say perhaps you're looking on that Pathways to Science website and you find several opportunities and you click on the website and you find out, oh my goodness, the deadline just passed. This would have been a great opportunity for me. I can see myself there. Then more often than not, they're going to offer that very same opportunity the following year. And they also have contact information listed on that site. So you can email that faculty member or that coordinator or that individual in charge of that internship experience and ask them if it would be offered in the following year. And then add it to your own spreadsheet so that you can tick off that particular opportunity and be ready and prepared for it at the next time it's offered. So keeping a list of your own is kind of cool because you can only see what's and look for things that are just pertinent to your major and your interests.
All right, so now you heard all about how do I search for internships. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about what to do when you're ready to apply. Applying for internships in research and STEM is pretty similar to applying to a job, but there are a couple of nuances that we want to point out specifically. Some of the common application materials they're going to ask about is your personal information. So this is going to be like where you live, the school you're currently attending, or any other colleges you have previously attended, your major, your projected transfer dates, etc. They typically want a resume. So this is going to, and I'll go into more detail a little bit more about what to include in your resume. They might ask for a statement of purpose or a personal statement talking a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in this project or internship. They might ask for transcripts, so they could ask for official or unofficial transcripts. And finally, they could ask for letters of recommendations or references. So these are a lot of different things you have to keep together. Some of these things you can gather once and use for multiple applications, like unofficial transcripts. Other things are going to have to be tailored to each particular opportunity. So when we're talking about a resume, if you don't know, or if you've never put one together before, a resume is a document that showcases a little bit about who you are and some of the things you've done. Some of the typical resume categories that are included in a resume are personal information, so a header with your name and your contact information, your education background. So it's only going to be college and up at this point. So you're going to focus on your current school, the major, your GPA, and your projected transfer date if you have that. Any major or relevant coursework you have that you feel would be applicable to the opportunity you're applying for. It could also include your experience. So this could be paid experience, unpaid experience, volunteer experience, internship experience, things that will be applicable specifically to the opportunity you're applying for. And some of these things, you'll also want to talk about some of those transferable skills you have. So transferable skills are skills that we gather doing various things that can then be transferred over and be beneficial to us in other ways. So the example I like to use is one of my first jobs was I was working in restaurants. And a lot of times you might think like, oh, working in a restaurant, maybe there aren't a lot of skills you're gathering through that could be used in other places, but it's actually not true. When you're working in a restaurant, you have a lot of customer service experience. You're often having to juggle multiple things at once. So you're gathering time management experience. You're handling cash, and you have to be very attentive to your details. And these are all those little skills that people are looking for when they're searching for candidates in their research and internship opportunities that you can list in your resume that would make you look like a good candidate. You could also include honors, awards, and any extracurricular activities you're a part of. This is showing a little bit about how well-rounded you are and some of the things you're a part of. Maybe you have some specific things on your own that you worked on, any projects you worked on, you can include those. Talk about being in the STEM club or any other clubs you might be a part of, or sports even. This is a good place to list those if you want to show a little bit more about who you are and how these things speak to you as a person and a candidate. When we're talking about resume, here are the 3 quick tips that I have when you're deciding to build your resume. The first is to keep it simple. We want to be clear and to the point, not have too much fluff, and we want to use simple fonts and colors that are easy to read and understand, with obvious sections that have all the clear information listed in it. So I used a small example here that shows some very obviously separated sections. It seems easy to read. I know it's kind of small, but seems easy to read and follow. The second is we want it to be relevant. So I think a lot of times one of the traps that every person falls into when they're creating a resume is creating one resume and using that same resume to apply for every opportunity. But that's not the best thing that you could do to set yourself up to be the most ideal candidate. What you want to do, if possible, is tailor your resume to fit what the opportunity is looking for. And I'll talk a little bit more about how you can do that. And then finally, we want it to be clear. So we can use our action verbs to showcase the various experiences we've had and the job duties that come along with those experiences. Oops. All right, so when we're keeping it simple, I wanted to include this example. It's just a fake resume example as kind of a what not to do. As you can see, it looks a little messy. It's kind of hard to read. There are sections, but they don't stand out very well. The organization is a little messy. The formatting is very messy. So when we're keeping it simple, we want to have clear divided sections with obvious headers. So like I mentioned, there are clear sections here, but they're the same size as the rest of the font. They're bolded, but they don't really stand out. We want to use an appropriate personal email address. So I don't know about you all, but when I first created my email address when I was like 12 or something like that, I think it had something to do with like unicorns and cupcakes, and that's not really an appropriate email. We also don't recommend that you use your school email either, because when you do transfer to your next institution or graduate, your email address will eventually become inactive. So it's a good habit to use an appropriate personal email address with some format of your name. And like Patricia mentioned, an email address that you're going to check because you want to make sure you don't miss out on these opportunities. You want to use simple fonts and colors. So just keep it pretty straightforward, easy to read, black and white. You're not sure who's going to be receiving or reading your resume, and you want it to load and look exactly how you created it. So try to keep it easy in that sense. You want to be consistent in your font style. So I know a lot of people get excited, they start using different fonts, but things start to look a little messy and the formatting can get kind of wonky. So try to be consistent in the fonts that you're using. And finally, you can use bolding and italics to make certain things stand out. When it comes to keeping it relevant, there are two general ways that you can arrange your resume. I think the most common way is to do it chronologically. So often people will put their education first, and then they'll put their work or other experience, and they'll do it in chronological order. So they'll do their most current experience, and then they'll do their later experiences underneath that. The second way that you could do that, you could arrange your resume, is relevant to the opportunity. Say you are applying to a chemistry research project, but you're not a chemistry major. They don't require you to be a chemistry major, so you can still apply, but perhaps you don't think that, or you're concerned that not being a chemistry major could not look so good on you. So instead, what you could do is rearrange your resume to have your experience up top rather than your education. You're not hiding any information, but you're choosing to highlight what you feel is more relevant and showcases you better as a candidate, and then put a little further down other information that might not be as useful to you as a candidate. Like I said, we're not hiding anything. We're just giving them a chance to love everything else you have to offer before they see something that maybe you feel doesn't make you the strongest candidate. Then we want to adapt things. So in this area, that's where I was recommending we're not just going to reuse our resume from every opportunity we've ever used. You can update, make a few changes to your job duties, your skills. You can rearrange your sections to make it relevant to the specific opportunity you're applying for, to put your best foot forward when you're applying. All right, next we want to keep it clear. So when we're writing out our job duties and descriptions and skills, we want to be concise with our descriptions, not super long-winded. We want to use action verbs. So these are some great examples of action verbs or specific words we could use to describe the job duties that we've had. If you've never written a resume before, you might not know, but we don't use I statements in our resume. So for example, I wouldn't say, I am the coordinator of the STEM Center at Moreno Valley College. I would say coordinates, runs, oversees the STEM Center at Moreno Valley College. So these are some examples of action verbs that you can use to help build those job descriptions. This is just a few examples. If you Google it, you can find so many more. And then I like to recommend this formula for success when lining up your job duties. This was something that was created by Google. It is talking about if you were putting together your job description, you could say you accomplished X as measured by Y by doing Z. So what this would give you an opportunity to do is showcase a little bit more about what you do, how you do it, and the most important thing, the outcome or the result of what you do. So I have a little example because I know that's a lot. The example I'm using is from a research assistant who is helping out at Borden's College of Engineering here at down the street at UCR. And one of their duties is to analyze data. It doesn't really say a whole lot about what they do or how they did it or who they did it with. So I would recommend that this person revise it to instead say, assisted professor with original research by analyzing data using Excel and SPSS. Data was later used to find correlations between vehicle emissions and atmosphere conditions. And so what this is doing is not only showcasing what they did, but it's who they did it with, the tools that they use to do it, so Excel and SPSS, and the outcome or the results. So the fact that the data was later used to find these correlations, it really showcases a whole lot more about you, the skills you have, the people you've worked with, and some of the things you have contributed to. All right, so here I have two examples of great resumes that you can use as examples when you're moving forward. On the left here, this is actually the exact resume that NASA asks for when you're applying to their SERI internship and other opportunities with NASA. So NASA really does not want any fluff at all. They literally want you to take what they have given you, this template, remove the red parts, and put it back in with your information. And Patricia and I are going to happily share the template with you so you can use it to build your own if you'd like. Here, they're looking for pretty straightforward, your name, contact information, objective statement, your education, your related coursework, your academic experiences, work or volunteer experiences, any skills you have, and your extracurricular activities. So like I said, no fluff. They don't want any special fonts. They don't want any special colors. They literally just want the information laid out in this exact format. So that's why Patricia was stressing how important it is to look at those application requirements, because you don't want to use your own format if this is something that they're looking for. And then here on the right, this is just an example of a random resume I found that I felt would showcase a lot of great things. I like how clear this heading is. Ella's information is very easy to read and access and very prominent. There's a lot of really great, easy to read sections. So if I'm skimming through this resume, I can easily look down and say, okay, here is Ella's experience. I can see the different experiences they have been a part of. Oh, there is their relevant upper division coursework. So it's all laid out very easy. Ella has also used bolding to highlight some specific things that they felt were important. So here I can see that Ella attended the UC San Diego and was getting a BS in electrical engineering, expected to accomplish that in that year. I can see that the dates that they were a part of their various experiences. I can see down here that they were a president and an active member of these two organizations. So I am not recommending you use this as a template, but rather just giving you some ideas of when you're deciding to build your resume, different ways you can do to make it look really nice and easy to read. All right, a little bit about the personal statement and statement of purpose. So these are really two different things, and I just want you to be aware of the differences between these two things, but they both give you an opportunity to share your story. For the personal statement, it's an opportunity to typically be a little less formal and go into more depth of who you are. You can talk about the kind of person you are, your personality. You can give them insight into your motivation or passion. What drives you? Why are you applying to this opportunity? What is so interesting about it to you? What are your future goals and aspirations? It's a really great opportunity. Sometimes they'll give you prompts. Other times they'll just ask you to write a personal statement. For a statement of purpose, it's a little more formal and specific. They're looking specifically for your academic background and skills, your research interests, and why you feel that you would be a good fit in this project, and then any academic or professional goals that you have. All right, so when we're building our statement, here are some steps I think you can take to build a great statement. The first is going to be to brainstorm. So whatever works best for you, free flowing text, scribbling down things, talking it out with somebody. You can talk about what your strengths are. You can think specifically about some examples from your classes or projects or personal projects that you've done that you feel might be good examples of who you are as a worker and as a person. What are some of the evidence of your accomplishments? We don't want to just talk about what we've done. We want to talk about the outcomes, because that's really important to not only showcase your skills, but some of the great things that you have achieved. I recommend using the STAR method for this, which is where it stands for situation, task, action, and result. So the first is the situation. Set the scene for the person. What was going on? What were you trying to accomplish? Then you talk about the tasks. What are the things you did to try to accomplish whatever the situation or whatever you had going on? Then the action. What are the exact steps you took? What are some of the tools that you used? And finally, the result. What was the outcome of your challenge, of your class, of your project, of anything that you want to highlight? So all of these things will give whoever is reading your statement really great insight into not only who you are and some of the things you've accomplished, but how well-rounded you are and how much you have to offer. So next would be to research and organize yourself. Like we mentioned, and we're going to keep pounding it, it's so important to read the instructions carefully when you're applying. You want to research a little more about the internship, the project, the company, or the school that you're applying to kind of find out what kind of person are they looking for? How can I best set myself up for success when applying? And then talk about those things. Create an outline And then finally, you're going to be ready to write and get some review. We always recommend be authentic. Try to show who you are and why you're a good fit for this opportunity. It's really important to be authentic because someone's going to read this, and if they decide you should be interviewed, you're still going to have to talk to yourself and you have to be that same person. So you can't just copy anything off the internet. Try to showcase a little bit of who you are. Don't just repeat your resume or use generalizations. They've already read your resume, so use this as an opportunity to talk about something that can't go on your resume or something even more exciting that you would like to showcase. And finally, proofread and edit. We're only human. Like I told Patricia earlier when I did this presentation, I definitely had a couple of typos in there. And I probably should have had someone read over my presentation one more time before presenting it, but we're only human. Getting those extra eyes can be really helpful in making sure you're putting your best foot forward. Oops. All right, so a couple of things you can think about when you're writing is how you'll benefit from your experience. What are you going to gain from it? Is it going to enhance your knowledge? Is it going to help you explore your passion or cement your decision for what you want to do in your career? Is it going to aid you in transferring or getting the experience you need to achieve the job you'd want? Or maybe you're just really excited at the opportunity to do some networking and train with some industry professionals in the industry. That's a totally valid goal too. Networking is really important, and it's okay to talk about that. Why do you want to participate? Do you have some kind of personal investment maybe that makes you a really good candidate? I think the best example I can think of is perhaps you're looking at a project that talks about cancer and you have a family member who had cancer. So it is personal and interesting to you, then you can talk about that. Or maybe there's a particular problem or solution you're interested in learning about. Or perhaps the primary investigator or faculty member is someone you really want to learn from. And finally, how can you contribute? And think beyond just your experience and your skills. Talk about how you want to take this into the world. Talk about how you can bring your viewpoint and your experience to help further this research. All right, we're almost done there. We have our letters of recommendation. Letters of recommendation are really important. And what you want to do is you want to request them from someone who knows about you, your work ethics, your goals, and your experiences. So this might include a faculty member, a counselor at NVC or Norco, a professional mentor or classified professional like myself or Patricia, or anybody who is a part of any program you might be a part of, like Puente, EOPS, or any of the other programs or clubs we have on campus. Or even your supervisor, whoever you work for in your job. They get to know you, they know a little bit about your work ethic, your goals and experiences. So there might be a great person to ask from. Now, we know it's not always avoidable. Sometimes you do have to ask from people who might not be the best persons to recommend you. We would recommend that you avoid family members, fellow classmates, or others who might have a conflict of interest, and try to focus on getting them from people you can build relationships with through school. Keep skipping through, sorry. All right, so requesting a letter of recommendation. We know a lot of you, especially in this time of this pandemic, it's been really hard to connect with some of your professors and others at school. But if you can take a little time to get to know your professors and other professionals at Moreno Valley and Norco, you'll be surprised at how quickly you can get to know someone, they can get to know you, and you can develop that relationship where you would feel comfortable asking for a letter of recommendation. So drop by their office hours, stop by their office if possible, stick around after class a little bit longer and share more about you and what you're interested in, and get to know them a little more and what they're interested in. When it's possible, we know it's nearly impossible right now with everything being online, but it's always great to ask in person because let's be honest, it's much harder to say no in person. And next, we recommend you ask as early as possible. I personally recommend giving them at least 2 weeks just because people get busy and you want to make sure they have enough time to accomplish and write a really good letter for you. However, make sure you follow up. People get busy every day. Our professors are incredibly busy. They teach lots of classes. So they might forget after you ask them to write a letter of recommendation. Don't be afraid to follow up. Of course, don't send 5 emails and a couple of text messages asking about it, but it's totally okay if you haven't heard back from them to follow up and make sure they have everything they need to complete the letter for you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking it out. I know that was a ton of information. I did want to mention before we get to questions that Patricia and I will be reaching out to each of you to offer our personal assistance with any resume or application materials, searching for particular internships or research you feel would be applicable to you. So keep an eye out for that email. Here's all our social media information and our Canvas pages. If you would like to join our Canvas pages to get the most up-to-date information, please do that. These links here are case sensitive, so if you are using those, please make sure to notice that. And otherwise, we are going to open the floor up for any questions you might have. Feel free to drop it in the chat.